After dropping 6 games in a row, Spencer Carberry shook up the lineups at practice today. What will it look like as the Capitals take on the Bruins on Saturday? I'll discuss next on this edition of Locked On Capitals.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms, including the SiriusXM app and on YouTube. And I want to thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. My name is Dan Holme. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And the best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. I would love to talk Capitals hockey with you one-on-one, and we can do that on subtext. Just check the show description for more details. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about what is the problem with the Capitals. We hear that going into the All-Star break, they need a rest. And when they come out of the All-Star break, it's going to be a changed team. But for me, it seems like the same old Capitals. What's the problem? And are they going to be able to fix it? We'll talk about that in the show. A little bit later, we will talk about how it was a different look at practice today and what it might look like against the Bruins on Saturday. And then a little bit later, we will talk about the latest trade rumblings with Joel Edmundson and even Max Pacioretty. But just to get it going here, talking about what is the problem with the Capitals. You know, it seems that Alex Ovechkin is trending in the right direction, that he's scoring more goals. But one of the problems with this team this year is their ability to score multi-goals or have multi-goal scoring games. There's not a lot of firepower on this team, and the goal scoring is only coming from a select few players. And that's kind of a unique situation for the Capitals, where they, in previous years, have had scoring up and down the lineup, that it just seems like a few players on this team can find the back with even semi-regularity. And how do they go about fixing what is wrong with this team? The Capitals are in the midst of a 6-game losing streak, and everyone knows that these games are must-win games. We know that. We hear it all the time from Spencer Carberry. We hear the NHL insiders say that if the Capitals have any hopes of making it to the playoffs, they must win these games. And what have they done? 6 games in a row. And what have they done for a lion's share of this season? They've lost games. And the last game started with a lot of promise against the Florida Panthers. But like Spencer Carberry said, it just seems like at certain points in these games, they just get tired and they get outworked. Does some of that have to do with age? Is it just that they are getting outworked because the other players are just that much better? I guess it's really hard to know, but I think that we are trending in the direction of big changes coming for this team, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So what's the problem? They can't finish and play a 60-minute game. And, you know, it's kind of a cliche thing to say you got to play a 60-minute game, but it's true. The teams that do it the best, they have scoring up and down the lineup. They have defense that's dialed in, and their netminders can hold their own. It seems like the Capitals, they can apply pressure for chunks of the game, maybe 1 or 2 periods, but one of the periods, they just totally lose gas and they lose focus, and that's when they lose the game. They get involved in a stupid penalty, and they get outworked. They miss assignments. They're put in the wrong position. They cough up the puck. You name it. The Capitals have seen it all. Take a look at the game against the Panthers. I thought they were on the way to picking up a big win, but the issue was, again, playing a complete game, spending too much time in the penalty box. And one of the things that was spoke of was how good a job the Capitals did on the PK. And I'm happy about that, but I wish that they didn't give the Panthers so many opportunities in the first place. Everything's difficult, Carlson told reporters on Thursday in Florida. It's been a difficult stretch, though. We got no margin for error, and that's just the games we play right now. There is no margin for error, and it's not going to get any easier for the Capitals as they take on the Bruins on Saturday. They take on the Vancouver Canucks after that, and then they play the Colorado Avalanche. This is going to be a test. I would say that at the end of these 3 games, you're going to know what this team's made of. Some people say, hey, Dan, I already know what this team's made of. This team, this Capitals team, will get put through its paces through these next 3 games. If they can even win 1 or 2 of these games, I think that will speak volumes. But what I've seen thus far gives me no indication that they'll be able to do that. The Capitals are struggling to score multi-point games. Like I said, it doesn't end there, though. The Capitals are struggling on the blue line as well. The Caps are turning over the puck too much, and to be frank, it looks like they're simply getting outworked. Things that have worked in previous seasons are no longer working. This is an aging core. I think to a certain extent that has something to do with it. I think that it also has a certain extent to do with Spencer Carberry's systems. I think this team is struggling worse than it's struggled in quite some time. And, we can't say anymore that, they're still trying to learn his systems. We're past the halfway point of the season. If they haven't learned Spencer Carberry's systems yet, I don't think they ever will. Anthony Mantha, who's having a breakout season, offered his thoughts on the Capital struggles. He said, we need to come together, obviously, Mantha stressed. That's the only way we're going to get out of it. There's enough talent in here and attitude and compete level to step back. We know what's ahead and we can do it. Seeing is believing. I don't want lip service. I don't want to hear from the players and the coaches that we must win these games and we have it within this locker room to do it until I see evidence that they can in fact do that. And we have not seen that this year. Last year it was easy to say, well, the Capitals played poorly because of so many injuries. I talked about it on the show. How the Capitals have played last year. If Carlson was in there, if Backstrom and Wilson were in there, how much different would it have been? And those are just 3 big players. So we don't have those same excuses this year. The only players that are missing right now are Sonny Milano, which I don't think is going to be a big game changer when he comes back. Nicholas Backstrom has stepped away from hockey indefinitely, and Evgeny Kuznetsov is in the Players Assistance Program. Again, none of those players in the lineup right now, say for some reason Backstrom was able to play, say Kuznetsov was able to play, say Sonny Milano was in there, they'd be better maybe, but not good enough to compete against the best of the best in the NHL. And that's what's coming into focus is, and I've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, if you're an everydayer, you know that they've hung on to this lineup for too long. I've heard things that before the Capitals won the Stanley Cup in 2018 that they had plans of blowing up the lineup around then, shipping players out of the Capitals, pieces out to move pieces in. And then something strange happened. The Capitals actually won a Stanley Cup, and I think they reevaluated everything. So it's an interesting position for the Capitals to be in. I think that Brian McClellan's phone is going to be ringing a bit more here. I think that he's going to be making more phone calls to GMs as well to see what they can do to help bolster this team, not this year, but in years to come. We're already at the point of the season where we're at the assessment level. There's not any hopes. I really don't think if people in their heart of hearts, I think the players, the coaches, the fans, they know that this is just not going to be the year, that this is the assessment point of the season. What do I have on this team? What do I want to keep? And what am I okay with shipping out? And the bigger question is what kind of players do the Capitals get in returns? Are they draft picks? Are they NHL-ready players? What is the case going to be? I think that it would be good to be a mixture of all of those things. I think draft picks for futures, and I think some NHL-ready talent right now. It's going to be an interesting position to see what the Capitals do between now and March 8th. At the trade deadline. All right, so coming up here after the break, we will talk about how the Capitals have lost 6 games in a row and how Spencer Carberry shook up the forward lines, what that will look like Saturday against the Bruins. I'll discuss next. Passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now you can also find it on Amazon Fire TV. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find the Locked On Sports Today channel now on Amazon Fire TV. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the one thing I'm going to say about Spencer Carberry is that he is willing to make changes, and he sees that this team is struggling, and he's doing his level best to mix and match the forwards, to mix and match the deep pairings, to mix and match the goaltenders, to see if he can put together the puzzle that will equal a Capitals victory. Do they remember how to win a game at the end of the day? It's been quite some time since they've done that. It really kind of makes me wonder, do they remember how to win games? It's not going to be easy. The Bruins are going to be tough. The Canucks are going to be tough. And the Avalanche will also be tough. They need to bring their A game. If they don't have plans for playing on the Capitals this year, then they definitely want to play well for wherever they happen to land. There is a lot at stake for the players and the team. Carberry, knowing that things need to change, put the lineups in a blender, trying to jumpstart the offense and team chemistry. The lines were different in this practice. Ovechkin, Strome, and Oshie on the top line. Protas, McMichael, and Mantha on the second line. Pacioretty, Scarbosa, and Wilson on the third line, and Malenstein, Dowd, and Nicholas Abe-Kubel on the fourth line. So a bit of a different look for the Capitals. I think that ultimately they're trying to shake up the lineup to see what works. The top line is an unproven line, and Strome is more of a shoot-first center than a pass-first passer. Not going to help Ovi, but deserves a look. And one of the things that I'm going to go ahead and say about that is that one of the things that Alex Ovechkin is struggling with this year is he doesn't have that great center that is passing him the puck the way that Nick Backstrom did. Nick Backstrom was a pass-first center. And, if you take a look at Strome, he is a shoot-first center. And that is one of the things that's coming into focus. Alex Ovechkin needs someone to feed him the pucks so that he can make those really great goals. I think that that's at least partially true. I know that Alex Ovechkin is getting shots in. Oftentimes they're not finding the back of the net. But one of the things that I've noticed is that Strome isn't necessarily the kind of guy that wants to feed the puck to the other guy. He wants to be the one to take the shot. And I think that Alex Ovechkin would excel with a center that wanted to feed him the puck, similar the way that Nick Backstrom did for so many years. Ovechkin has goals in his last 3 games and is a point-per-game player in 2024 with 12 points, 4 goals, 8 assists in 12 games. He is finding his game after the All-Star break. Many people spoke of that, what kind of player is Alex Ovechkin going to be after the break? What kind of team is the Capitals? What kind of team are they going to be after the All-Star break? And Alex Ovechkin is living up to what he said he was going to be. He said that he felt well rested. He didn't think about hockey. He just took the time to rest and get better. And he has been, as advertised, being exactly what he said he was going to be, and finally scoring goals. Can you believe it, Capitals fans? Alex Ovechkin scoring goals. What a novel thought. It appears as though Kubel is back out of Carberry's doghouse and will rejoin Malenstein and Dowd on the fourth line. The high-octane scoring of Anthony Mantha will be back on a line with Protas and McMichael in hopes they can spread out the scoring. Anthony Mantha, the feel-good story of the year, one of the feel-good stories of the year. You take a look at how poorly he played last season and how great he's playing right now. It's hard not to root for a guy like Anthony Mantha. McMichael has taken on more responsibility in Evgeny Kuznetsov's absence. In an interview on the Monumental Network, he says it's unfortunate when a teammate goes out, McMichael said, of Kuznetsov entering the NHL player assistance program. But for me, moving up in the lineup, it's a big opportunity, and it's another chance to elevate my game and get back to where I was at the start of the year. And you hate to say it about Kuznetsov, but his loss could potentially be Connor McMichael's gain, and that's a good thing. As you see, he is getting a lot of playing time. It's up to Connor McMichael to make the most of his opportunities. That is what is paramount right now. That Kuznetsov was struggling before he went into the player assistance program, that Connor McMichael can show to the Capitals brass, Spencer Carberry, Brian McClellan, that he is deserving of more playing time. I think that ultimately he's going to do it. He's going to have to do it. Otherwise, I don't think that Spencer Carberry is going to be afraid to continue to mix and match things up. But that is what the Capitals are looking at right now, is they're looking to jumpstart the offense. Spencer Carberry has tried diligently to do that. Hopefully, this will be something that can get it going. In Tuesday's loss to Montreal, the 23-year-old McMichael skated 16:52, or nearly 2 minutes more than his season average. Then, in Thursday's defeat at Florida, he played 18:46, a new career high for a game decided in regulation, writes Monumental. So you do see that he is being entrusted with more responsibility. And that is because Evgeny Kuznetsov is out of the equation. And with him out of the equation, they need that top line, second line, I guess, in this situation, center to really step up and rise to the challenge. You take a look at it. They want to see what this young talent has on this team. We always hear that this team wants to get younger. It wants to get faster. Well, make the most of your opportunities. The teams know that this is the home stretch, and everybody raises it to another level. That's where it gets difficult for young players, putting that line back together to try to add a bit of jolt of energy and chemistry, Spencer Carberry said of McMichael and Mantha on that line out there. So hopefully that they can get more production out there. That is what we're hoping for, that they can actually find a way to win a hockey game. It's been quite some time. Hopefully they can turn it around. In other movement as well, Scarbosa is playing with some different wingers with Pacioretty and Wilson. Scarbosa, as we know, has from the AHL Hershey Bears, but he is no stranger to playing in the NHL. He has been playing professional hockey for quite some time. Again, Scarbosa was the guy that was called up the moment that Evgeny Kuznetsov was put in the NHL's player assistance program. Yet another player that needs to make the most of his opportunities. And I'm happy that he's up here getting that. If you're an everydayer, I always talk about that. I think that more players need opportunity from down in Hershey, most notably Dubé and Ethan Frank. But Ethan Frank, as we find out tonight, got injured in the game. I guess it remains to be seen what his timeline is as far as his return. With TVR still in the lineup, TVR still ill, rather, Bear appears to be in the lineup versus the Bruins tomorrow. So TVR is still dealing with some sort of illness. So it does appear as though Ethan Bear will be back in on the blue line. What is one of the things that we know about Ethan Bear is that he was in Spencer Carberry's doghouse, or Mitch Love's doghouse. I guess I don't really know at this point, but it's funny that this player that the Capitals went all out to acquire, the piece of the future, the piece of the present on the blue line appears not to be quite as advertised or what Spencer Carberry or Mitch Love had in mind. But in any event, that is who is slated to be in the game Saturday against the Bruins. Now, that was at practice on Friday. Things could still change Saturday, but as of right now, that is the way it is fixing to be. Again, I like the idea that Spencer Carberry's not afraid to mix things up, and that he is trying to spread it out a little bit, try to get Mantha moved around. He is one of the players that's scoring a lot. Get Strome moved around a little bit. I just hope that they can find some sort of chemistry between Dylan Strome and Alex Ovechkin, so Alex Ovechkin can do what he does best, and that is score goals. All right, so coming up here after the break, we will talk about the latest trade rumblings about Joel Edmundson and Max Pacioretty. Yes, we are getting closer and closer to the trade deadline. And will those players still even be Capitals on March 8th, or will they be destined for somewhere else before then? I'll discuss next. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find a quality candidate fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent job survey. Now, listen here. If you are in HR, you don't need to be dealing with paper applications. It's 2024. There are much better ways to hire, like Indeed. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Capitals podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. You need Indeed. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claims as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risks, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC is a registered broker-dealer. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Capitals are not playing the season that they had hoped for. So there are rumblings amongst some of the premier insiders inside the NHL talking about players that could be on the move. And there are several players on the Capitals that are rumored to be potentially being on the move, either on the trade deadline or before. I'll talk about two of them here this evening, talking about Joel Edmundson. We know that Joel Edmundson came to the Capitals from the Montreal Canadiens last summer. Montreal retained 50% of his salary. Joel Edmundson's name is being discussed as a player on the move by Fourth Period's David Pagnotta, top 25 trade watch list. Edmundson would be a good rental for teams that are in contention. Capitals are not going to be in contention. Why not maximize your return? Elliot Friedman has also mentioned Edmundson. The Caps gave up a 3rd and 7th round pick to get the Habs to retain 50% of his salary. So how can the Capitals turn this into a win? The Capitals could look to get back some of that. in draft capital if they moved Edmundson from the Caps and see if they can try to trade him to a team. Maybe the Capitals can retain some of that salary, and in return, they could get some draft picks for Joel Edmundson. I know that as Capitals fans, we want NHL-ready players right now, but this team needs to look at the present, but also the future. So we take a look at the equation that Joel Edmundson already has 50% retention from the Habs. If the Capitals would retain some of that salary, maybe that would make it more appealing to another team. And in return, maybe we could get some top tier draft picks. Per the Athletics' Pierre LeBrun, Pacioretty is also a name that cup contending teams could pursue if he chooses to waive his no move clause. That was something that was spoke of when Max Pacioretty made his decision to join the Capitals, is that there was the no move clause. He has children and he doesn't want to move. So I think that if it was the right fit, maybe he would do it. Maybe if it was the right team, maybe. My sense is for the right fit and chance to chase a cup, he might waive, according to Pierre LeBrun. Through 14 games, Pacioretty had 1 goal and 6 assists for 7 points, and he has been playing top 6 minutes while also getting power play time. Pacioretty said that the no move clause was important because he has kids and doesn't want to move, so it would have to be a lucrative offer. And you take a look at Max Pacioretty, he is getting to be a little bit long in the tooth as far as NHL players are concerned. He's come here and, he was one of the players that, Brian McClellan and the Capitals said, well, the Capitals aren't playing well right now, but wait till Max Pacioretty joins the team. Maybe it'll be a game changer. Has Max Pacioretty been a game changer? Kind of. Joel Edmundson was another player that was not ready for puck drop on opening night. Has he been a game changer? To a certain extent, yes, but I think that the Capitals need to pursue all options to see what kind of returns they can get for these players. Joel Edmundson is a good player. I think he's a rugged style defenseman that brings a physicality, and he has playoff experience. He has a history playing in the playoffs with the Blues, amongst other teams, that I think that he could really help other teams elevate to that next level. He's got the experience. He's been there. He's done that. He's got a physical snarl to his game. Potentially, he could help what is ailing a lot of these teams that are in contention. Max Pacioretty, historically, 6 different times in his career, has scored 30 goals in a league of what have you done for me lately. I think it would have to be a pretty sweet deal for Max Pacioretty to want to move out of Washington, just given the fact that he has that no move clause. And like he said, he does not want to be the guy that's jet setting around the country, potentially always helping another hockey team. He wants to kind of set roots down a little bit. So I guess that remains to be seen. But the Capitals, that's the position that they're in. Of course, we've also heard about Charlie Lindgren, that there's teams going to be vying for his services. We've heard Nick Dowd. We've heard Nicolas Aube-Kubel. I do think that Brian McClellan is going to be busy on or before the trade deadline. I would count on it because this team is not winning games, and they're at probably the lowest I've seen them in quite some time. A 6-game losing streak with a really tough schedule ahead. This is going to be a good measuring stick for this team. Do they have what it takes? All signs point to that they don't. So they should try to cut their losses, move out some big pieces, move in some big pieces, some, potential draft picks, some young talent, but I want NHL talent, NHL ready talent in there as well. I don't want just players that are going to be good years from now, because we still only have just a few years left of the Alex Ovechkin era under his current contract, that we don't want to squander that. So we want to make the most of our opportunities. One of the things that I would put on my wish list is to find a center that is a pass-first center that could pass it to Alex Ovechkin so he could start contributing more goals. Because one of the bugaboos for Alex Ovechkin, I know he's been playing better as of late, but is finding true chemistry with that center the same way that he had with Nick Backstrom, for so many years. As you kind of see Nick Backstrom, step away from the team, and it's been longer since he's played, you kind of draws into focus. Would Alex Ovechkin be as great of a player that we see today if he had never, hooked up with Nick Backstrom, and it just seems kind of kismet or meant to be that Nick Backstrom and Alex Ovechkin both played hockey at the same time. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are ultimately what makes this show successful. When you're done here, head on over to Locked On's 24/7 streaming channel. Find the Locked On Sports Today channel now on Amazon Fire TV. Check it out. I think you will love it. It's like ESPN, but a lot better and free. What's not to love? All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holney, and I'll talk to you again next time.